Hi, everybody. Before we get into tonight's homework, I'm going to show you how to make the ruler. So this is what you're going to need for math lesson today, and then we'll get into what the homework is. All right. Looking back, I'm going to start with the homework helper for lesson 4. I'm going to come in a little bit so we can see better. So in this top spot, this is part of what you did in class today. In this top part, you are just saying if you would measure something with centimeters or with meters. So if it's a glue stick, like we were just talking about, you want to use something small, you're going to use your centimeter ruler. If you're measuring a door or the teacher's desk, then it's probably at least 100 centimeters long, maybe more. You're going to want to use a meter stick, all right? If you're measuring the length of the marker, no, going back to the centimeters. We're not going to want to use the whole meter stick for that. So down here, it's the same idea, but they're giving you numbers. So filling in the blanks, this is something that was done in class today. If we're talking about the height of a building, if the building is 12 something, do you think it's 12 centimeters? Can a building be that tall? Or do you think it's more likely that the building was 12 meters, right? Okay, so a building is going to be 12 meters tall. It's not going to be 12 centimeters. It just doesn't make any sense. So that's what we're doing. We're using our number sense. So the length of the blue thread, 8 centimeters longer than the red thread. Not 8 meters. That's a lot of thread. The runner broke the record for 500 meters. 500 centimeters would only be 5 meter sticks. That's not very far to run. So this is part of what we'll be using in our homework tonight. Now, the other thing is we're going to be using the centimeter ruler, and I know we didn't make this in class. So when you need to use the centimeter, just use the first part of your meter stick like we were using in class yesterday. So we are going to measure a shape, and when they say how long is the shape, they mean from this line to this line. We're not measuring around the shape. They want to know how far is it across there, okay? Now, they're showing you their centimeter here, and they're saying that, is it 6 centimeters? No, because look, they didn't start at the end point. If they're not starting at the end point, then you need to count how many centimeters are between those two lines. So you can either use your centimeter ruler and measure it to show that it's 4 centimeters, or you can use the ruler they're showing you like that, and then you can count up from 2. 1, 2, 3, 4 centimeters. Because this shape is 4 centimeters long, even though 6 is where that mark is. All right, let's get started with our homework. This is page 51 in your in the Succeed book, which is the book with the bedroom. And on this page, we are circling. Are we measuring in centimeters with the centimeter ruler, or do we need the whole meter strip? Which one can we use? So if we're measuring the length of a marker, do we think that is centimeters or meters? The smaller objects, we're going to measure them in centimeters. A marker isn't a meter long. It needs to be more than a meter long, 100 centimeters before we're going to measure it in meters. The length of a school bus, that is longer than my 100 centimeter meter strip. So a school bus, yeah, measuring that with a meter stick. A laptop computer, probably longer than my centimeter ruler, but it's not a meter long. It's not as long as my meter strip, so that's going to be centimeters. A highlighter marker, that's the same as the marker, centimeters. The length of a football field, is that this or this? We're going to need to measure that in meters. A football field is very long. A parking lot, is that a big object or a small object? A big object, we're going to need to measure in meters. A cell phone. Small objects, centimeters. The length of a lamp that you might have in your house. Again, centimeters. The length of a supermarket. Is that a big thing? It is. That's big. We're going to measure that in meters. And the length of a playground. Again, meters. That is a big thing. You wouldn't try to use this to measure across the playground. That would take you forever. So now, the same kind of idea here at the bottom of the page, except that we are putting centimeters or meters to go along with the number. So the length of a swimming pool is 25. First of all, are you going to measure a swimming pool with a centimeter ruler or with meter strip? Yeah. And then look at this. This is 25 centimeters. Is that how big your pool is? Of course not. So this one needs to be meters. We abbreviate that with an M. The height of a house is 8. Is that a big thing or a small thing? Are we going to measure in meters? Yes. Karen is 6 something shorter than her sister. Now, do you think she could be 6 of these shorter than her sister? This is tricky because when you're measuring a person, you might want to say how many meters they are. A meter and some centimeters. But when we're talking about the difference between one person and another, could they be this 6 of these? No. She's going to be 6 centimeters shorter than her sister. So we're going to put in centimeters. Eric ran 65 something down the street. So he runs 65 centimeters or 65 meters. Again, if it's a longer distance, we're going to use meters. The length of a pencil box is 3 blank longer than a pencil. Centimeters. When we're measuring smaller things, we use centimeters. When we're measuring larger things, we're using the meters. Go ahead and turn your page. On page 52, we have all these great shapes to measure, but this time, like in the warm-up, we're measuring from one side to the other. We're just going to measure the length of them. We are not trying to measure around any of the sides. We're just measuring across each of those. Now, you can use this centimeter ruler right here to measure each of these, or you can use your own centimeter ruler. If we look down here, the A actually matches up perfectly, right? The A matches up right there. So if I go to the end mark, how wide, how long across here is the triangle A? It starts at 0, so we can say that it is 3 centimeters long, okay? But then rhombus B is here, and rhombus B is starting at the 3. So when the rhombus B says it's here, is it 6 centimeters long? No, we're going to have to count over from the 3 to the 6 and see how many centimeters are between, or what is the difference between those two numbers, because that is the space of that shape. So how long is rhombus B? It is also 3 centimeters. 1, 2, 3. Okay, here we have semicircle or a half circle C, and we're going to measure from here to here. If I kind of trace that down, I'm seeing it starts on the 5 and it ends on the 10. So what is the difference between 5 and 10? We could do that as a subtraction problem, so that we would say 10 minus 5, or we can count between those marks. So it starts here at the 5, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 10 minus 5 is 5. The next one we have is the hexagon D, and again, measuring across here. So this one seems to start on the number 6, and it ends at the number 10. Again, we could say 10 minus 6 to find the difference, or we can count over. 1, 2, 3, 4. So hexagon D is 4 centimeters long. Again, we can't say it's 10 because it didn't start at 0. We need to see and be precise with which numbers we're dealing with. So finally, we have this rectangle E. We're going from here to here. Super easy to see where this one is. It starts on the number 2. It ends on the number 6. So we can subtract 6 minus 2, or we can count over the spaces. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So rectangle E is 4 centimeters long. So the last question there is how is this strategy different than if we were using the centimeter ruler or a centimeter cube? How is our strategy different? Well, if we were using a cube or the ruler, we would make sure to line up the end right there and measure them across like that. And then we would count the cubes, or we would have the end of our ruler there and we would see what number it is. We wouldn't need to count, right? Here, we are measuring the space between, but we do have numbers here, and we can also subtract We have a couple of different ways to find that. So our strategy to find the length of each shape is different from using the centimeter cubes because we can subtract to find the difference. Or we can count the spaces. Now, when you're doing the cubes, you would be lining the cubes up across and you would count the cubes. You would put cube, 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 and then you would count those cubes. But because we have numbers on the ruler, we can also use subtraction to find those answers. So we know it starts on 2 and it ends on 6. We want to find the difference. We can subtract 6 minus 2 equals 4. So we can count our spaces or subtract. And if we were just using cubes, we would only be able to count the cubes. There would be no way to subtract to find those answers. So good work, everybody. I know some of this is tricky. Thanks for coming to work, and I will see you tomorrow.